Our written submission discusses recent immigration policies that have caused incredible harm to migrants, including the Trump administration's family separation policy and asylum bans enacted by both the Trump administration and the Biden administration. This morning, I want to focus in particular on the family separation policy that ripped apart asylum-seeking parents and children and only ended because of the ACLU's Miss L lawsuit. The family separation policy is the worst thing I have seen in my more than 30 years at the ACLU, and unfortunately, the harm from this policy remains ongoing 5 years later. Yet there are still some who believe the policy should be reenacted. The ACLU is committed to ensuring that the full extent of this ongoing harm is understood and not forgotten, so that such an abhorrent policy is never again adopted. As we came to learn, the goal of the family separation policy was to subject families to such cruelty that they would give up their asylum claims and to deter other asylum-seeking families from seeking refuge here. It stands out today as one of the worst episodes in our nation's recent history. We now know that there were at least 5,500 children who were separated from their parents, and there are likely more cases that we still don't know about. Of those 5,500 children, more than 500 were under the age of 5 when taken from their families. Some were just babies, still breastfeeding. One was only 6 months old. 5 years later, there remain hundreds of children who still have not been reunited with their parents because of the failure to document and keep track of the parents and children. Many of these still separated children have now spent nearly their entire life without their parents. Physicians for Human Rights has stated that the forcible separation of families constituted torture. The president of the Academy of Pediatrics referred to the family separation policy as, quote unquote, government-sanctioned child abuse. But it is ultimately the individual stories that most starkly reveal the cruelty. One mother we represented was forced to strap her 18-month-old son into the back seat of a Border Patrol vehicle and not allowed to comfort the hysterical child before federal officers took her child away. The mother recounted that as the car drove away with her baby, she could see him craning his neck to get one last look at her out the window. Another separated child was a 4-year-old little boy who wore glasses. When agents came to take him away, he fortunately had his glasses with him, but was not able to retrieve the case for his glasses. His mother worried constantly every day whether the government would show him where he could keep his glasses safe at night, or whether they would get him a new pair if they broke. Another father reported that he was denied even a few minutes to brace his son for what was about to happen. Instead, his child was pulled away while holding his father's leg and begging to know what was happening and where he was being taken. Mothers and fathers were often not even told where their children had been taken or given the chance to say goodbye, left only to wave to them through a glass window as they were led away. Miss L, the lead plaintiff in the ACLU's lawsuit, only learned that her 6-year-old daughter was being taken away because she heard her scream from the next room, "Mommy, don't let them take me." And the trauma hasn't ended even for those families who have been reunited. One mother told us that her 4-year-old son continued to ask if he would be taken away again in the middle of the night when he went to sleep. Another 3-year-old boy we represented would stand by the window after he was reunited, looking to see if people were coming to take him away again. And it is not just the children who suffered. The parents have also understandably been traumatized as it destroyed their relationship with their children. Many children were too young to understand that their parents could not stop what was happening. They would stare into their parents' eyes as they were screaming not to be taken away, watching as their parents just stared back helplessly. When the children were finally reunited, they would ask their parents why they didn't fight for them or why they didn't love them enough to keep them. When I was in El Salvador to meet with our clients, I met a father who broke down crying when he recounted that the very first thing his 8-year-old child said to him when he was finally returned was, "Pappy, why did you let them take me?" We all have an obligation to make sure that this shameful chapter in our history is never repeated. Thank you for allowing the ACLU to testify today.